Well, I'm going to be talking about the Arsenal game. So if you haven't seen it, do go and see it, and then come back and listen to my thoughts on the match. And I did say in my previous episode that I felt that we would lose this game, and I didn't like doing it. I didn't like saying that we were going to lose this game, but I had a feeling we would, given the recent form we've been in and everything else. And I was thinking that this is going to be the game when Arsenal turn things back on, and they did. It was a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. I'm going to be honest with you. The game was pretty much out of our control for most parts. Arsenal were passing the ball around. It was very difficult to get it off them, and after so early in the game, 10 minutes or so, we conceded from a corner, and two of the goals actually came from corners, and that was difficult because we do have good defensive players, but we just did not have anything to we didn't have anything to offer them. They were able to get past us with fairly easy ways, so it was difficult. And you can see, I think you could see during the game, as the game went on, as it went to 2 goals and something like that, you could see the players' heads were starting to drop a little bit. They were still trying, give them their credit, they were still trying. But Arsenal were playing very well, and I don't think, although we did have a few chances, they weren't really anything significant, and those that were, we weren't going to be scoring them because we just aren't in that. We don't have that situation at the moment at the club. We're not able to score goals very easily, and when you also think that we've got players missing through injury, and obviously AU having gone to AFCON, we are in a very difficult position right now. We're in a very vulnerable position, I think, because when you rely on players like AU. AU works incredibly hard, does a huge amount for the team, and you notice when he's not there. We were very vulnerable, and it was also the fact that we didn't have Elise. We didn't have that creativity up front either. Doucouré, that solidifies the midfield. We didn't have that, and so these are 3 key players that we didn't have in the squad. That's not defending Roy. That's just the way it is. We don't have those players, and it showed. It showed that we don't have the quality in the team. If we lose those 3 players, especially, we were trying, but Eze most of the time was trying to create his own things because there wasn't anyone to give the ball to that was going to be able to create anything apart from him. It was difficult for Mateta and that to try and do anything. It was hard for the midfield to get hold of the ball because Arsenal were playing it about quite well. The defence looked very unsteady at times, and it was just a poor performance. Unfortunately, it was a poor performance against a team that's got something to prove, a good team that's got something to prove, and that is why I think we lost the 5-0. The substitutions were, well, Roy said that he made the substitutions to try and get a goal, but to be honest, França and that, they just, I think they didn't have enough time. They didn't really do anything with what time they had on the pitch. And then of course Gahey went off for Tompkins. I'm not sure, they didn't say he was injured. They didn't talk about it in the press conference. They interviewed Gahey after the game. He didn't say he was injured, so it might have just been a tactical thing, I don't know. But after those changes, we looked even worse and went down another 2 goals. So where do we go from here? I think you've got to think about, and I'm not a die-hard Roy fan or anything like that, because I think that there are better managers out there. I think that it is time perhaps for him to go. I don't know that he will. I don't think that really Steve Parish has any alternatives at the moment, because we are a very weak team at the moment with so many injuries and players out for various reasons. We saw, and Barry emailed me about this, that Graham Potter was in the crowd, and he was in the crowd watching the game. So that's interesting. He might have just been there because he wanted to see the game. Maybe there's some other things going on, I don't know. But Steve Parish, John Textor, Dougie Friedman and Mark Bright were also there. So it was good for them to see the situation as well. In terms of management, I do think we need to have a change. I think that it's got to that point where something needs to happen. I think Roy has been made a scapegoat in all of this. I think that he came in this season believing that things weren't going to be like they are. I mean, obviously he was never going to be able to preempt the number of injuries that we've got, and it's not just Crystal Palace. Although we've had a fair number of injuries ourselves, lots of Premier League teams, even big Premier League teams, have had injury trouble. I don't think it's Roy. I think it's just a general, whatever the training techniques are now that's being used in the Premier League are just causing problems. I don't think it's uniquely Palace. I think that this is a Premier League wide situation. So there's that, plus the fact that I don't think the team that came out of the summer was the team he thought he was going to have. I thought he was going to have Zaha. I think he thought he was going to have more players come in than they actually were. So yes, Roy isn't doing enough to keep us up, and I think somebody else needs to come in. I hope that they can come in and do enough to keep us up. I would like to think they would, and I'm sure what's going to happen. The scenario is going to be that we'll get a new manager. AU will come back from AFCON. Elise will get fit, and we'll bring in a couple of players who actually make a difference in the team, and then we'll go on a really good spell, and then everyone will say, well, yeah, it was Roy's fault. I'm not saying it isn't Roy's fault, but what I'm saying is that's the scenario I can see happening, that a manager will come in and all of these fortunate things will happen, and then we'll push on and everyone will say, well, it was obviously Roy's fault. There's more going on behind the scenes than just Roy. I know that Roy isn't the man for the task at the moment. He looks dejected. I've been saying all season, he looks not the same person that he was the end of last season. He looks fed up, and I think he is, and I'm not surprised, to be honest. So I think we do need to have a change, and I hope that we bring in the right person. I mean, Troy Dealey got sacked, so I hope we don't get him, because I don't think that's going to be a good situation at all. But that, you can imagine, that would be the announcement. Roy has gone, here's Troy Dealey. Make out of that what you will. But anyway, difficult video to make, to try and sound objective, but I always do try to sound objective about it, and that is as best as I'm going to do it at the moment. That was pretty much the game. There's no point going into the ins and outs of it, because it was a bad game for us, and we conceded a shed load of goals, and it's one more loss in our season. And although we've got games to come, we need to turn this around really quick. So what do we do? New manager, I think, is probably the answer, but we'll have to hope that that's enough to get things started for us. Anyway, let me know down in the comments what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you don't want to make a comment in the comment section, or if you're listening to this podcast, do email me, palace at footballtothecore@gmail.com, footballtothecore@gmail.com, and let me know what you think about this whole situation. And don't forget to subscribe, follow along to all the trials and tribulations of Crystal Palace's ups and downs. I'll see you next time.